Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and in today's video, I'm excited to share a huge breakthrough that I've had with my air filtration system here in the office that's going to allow me to smoke even more cigars in the company of others and hopefully get me past the finish line at home with my at-home smoke filtration system. As everyone on this channel knows, I love a good cigar, and more importantly, I love the ability to smoke a good cigar inside. But this is incredibly difficult to do these days, of course, as society has become less open or less tolerant of cigar smoke. So one of the great joys of mine in building our own office here was the ability to design this office for me to be able to smoke cigars, and I achieved that with what was my dream smoke filtration system. I documented the entire process of the construction of this smoke filtration system on this channel, and even stress tested it with two good friends from Half Wheel, Charlie and Brooks, showing just how effective that this system was at clearing out the smoke in a room. But there was something that happened a few weeks ago that made me question just how effective this system actually was and whether or not I'd be able to get away with smoking a cigar at home. So I had some friends over for a meeting. There were about 8 of us, and we were all in this room. I lit up and was smoking a cigar and was running the smoke filtration system. Unfortunately, what I discovered is that the smoke, the residual smoke in the room while I was smoking that wasn't being filtered out was bothering 1 or 2 of my friends. So of course I felt terrible that my cigar smoke was bothering this friend, and it really made me start thinking, well, here I am, I've got this incredible, it's a $20,000 smoke filtration system. I mean, it's really the best money, could buy. How is it not filtering the smoke in such a way that I can smoke in a room, someone can be, 8 or 10 feet away from me without the smoke bothering them? Now, one of the features of this Cam Cleaner 2000 from CamFil is that it is able to run at up to 2,000 cubic feet a minute. I mean, that is a sledgehammer. And while we were here and I was smoking in the company of my friends, I cranked up the smoke filtration system to 1,800 cubic feet a minute, which turns over the entire volume of air in this office every 3 to 5 minutes. So it couldn't have been a lack of air filtration in terms of volume of air that was resulting in this friend being bothered. I mean, we're turning over the air every 3 to 5 minutes. That is an exceptional high rate of air change. So it couldn't be the system itself that was resulting in this residual smoke existing in the environment. It had to be the quality of air filtration. So let me back up just a little bit and talk about air filtration, right? Air filtration at the end of the day is a pretty simple science. There are effectively 3 variables to effective air filtration. One is the volume of air filtration, so how many cubic feet a minute are you filtering? That, of course, needs to be taken into the relative size of a room and the total volume of air. So this room is 26 feet long, 12 feet wide, 10-foot ceilings. That's about 3,100 cubic feet of air. With this air filtration system running at 1,500 cubic feet a minute, we're effectively turning over or filtering the entire volume of air in this office every 2 minutes. Now that is insane, right? I mean, this is, as I said, a sledgehammer of a system. It is overkill for this environment. It is truly an industrial quality air filtration system. The volume or the rate of air filtration wasn't the issue with this filtration system. It had to be something with the quality of air filtration that was resulting in this residual smoke remaining in the environment that wasn't being filtered out and that was subsequently bothering my friend. The second is particle filtration, which are the visible particles, or in some cases, the invisible particles. That is done through filter medium that is rated in terms of either MERV or HEPA filtration grades, right? So the higher the MERV rating, the smaller the filter medium is, and the smaller particles it's going to capture, right? And then you go all the way up to MERV 14, which is the highest rating of MERV, and then above that you get to HEPA, which stands for High Efficiency Particulate Air Filter, right? And so HEPA is the highest rating or grade of air filtration, but even within HEPA, you have different standards of filtration. So in a hospital and an operating room, they're going to be using a HEPA air filtration, and there is a much higher standard, basically a manufacturer manufacturing to ensure that they're able to filter at the appropriate HEPA designation. So particle filtration is achieved with a filter medium, right? So this is a pleated filter like what you use at home, or in the case of this large capacity filtration system I have here, it's a bag filter. But at the end of the day, you're basically passing the air through some type of filter medium that is catching and filtering out those particles. The higher the MERV rating or the HEPA rating, the smaller the particles are that are filtered out of the air and the higher the rate. And then you have molecular filtration. Now, the only way that molecular filtration is achieved is with activated carbon, which actually binds to the molecules and captures them. And that is what's going to filter out your VOCs, like your carbon dioxide, your odors, and your other, kind of molecular chemicals, right? And so most smoke filtration systems have a combination of molecular filtration, which is the carbon, and the particle filtration, which is going to capture, again, those kind of smoke particles themselves. So that's it. I mean, that is basically air filtration 101. So whenever we take it to this system in this office, we knew it wasn't an issue of air volume, right? Because I'm filtering, 1,500 cubic feet a minute. It's a complete air change every 2 minutes. It wasn't the molecular. I've got 125 pounds of carbon in this cam cleaner. I mean, that is an extraordinary amount of carbon. And in our last video, we actually sent some of that off to be tested. And after 18 to 24 months of use, I still had 92% of the useful life of that carbon left. So it certainly wasn't the carbon that was not doing its job, which brought us down to basically the particle filters, right? And so that made me think, it's like, well, this initial configuration was with the MERV 14 bag filter. It was 18 inches long. It's massive. Again, incredible lifetime at how we're using it. But again, it was just MERV 14, which was basically the highest rating without getting up to a HEPA filter. And so it kind of dawned on me that, here we are, I've got this incredible system. It's like the Rolls-Royce or the Caterpillar of air filtration. It is without question over-specified for how I'm using it. There's no question that it could be doing even more than I'm having it do. And so I guess the question at the end of the day for me was, well, why is it that I'm stopping at MERV 14 filters, right? Why not go all the way up to HEPA? So then this got me researching a little bit more about how effective was that MERV 14 filter. So I searched the internet, found some charts, and as it turns out, a MERV 14 filtration is only capturing 75% of the particles in that lowest kind of measured particle range, that 0.3 to 1 nanometer, right? Those are tiny, tiny little particles like pollen. But it was still only capturing 75% of that. So that means that even with every single air turnover, 25% of those particles were still being returned back into this environment. And those particles, of course, were there in the environment to bother my friends, to bother my wife, at home. So then I said, well, if we go up to HEPA, how much more effective is HEPA air filtration? Well, as it turns out, HEPA is really the gold standard. That's what they use in hospitals. That's what they use in clean rooms. And a HEPA filter, an H13, as I said, there were different grades of HEPA filtration. A HEPA H13 air filter takes that 75% all the way up to 99.95%, right? So that HEPA filter is able to capture 99.95 of all the particles size 0.3 or larger, right? And so that is a significantly higher efficacy of filtration. Now, if this system could handle it, my question is well, why wouldn't I buy the filters, a few $100s, and upgrade the quality of particle filtration in the system? So I called CamClean, I called my friend Jason, who you guys saw back whenever we went to visit the house. I posed this question to him. He had no really good reason why we didn't do that to begin with. And so I said, well, let's order these filters and let's change the way that we're doing this air filtration. So this system has now been upgraded, and excuse the long story, but it's been upgraded from that single MERV 14 bag filter to, which was 18 inches or 24 inches long, to an 18-inch MERV 14 bag filter that serves as a pre-filter to a HEPA pleated filter that sits behind it. So the air passes through that MERV 14 bag filter, which is now my pre-filter, the HEPA filter, 125 pounds of carbon, And then we threw in a small little dual 9 filter at the end just to capture any of those carbon particles that may just kind of blow out of the carbon filtration. So we've significantly upgraded the system, and presumably or theoretically, it should be capturing at every single turnover 99.95% of the particles at that highest, kind of slowest or smallest rating, plus the VOCs, the odors. And so, if I'm filtering everything out, I'm effectively returning this air to what is a higher standard or cleaner air than what the ambient air is of outside, right? So again, I should be able to smoke in this room without really bothering someone, presuming that the air is cleaned to a higher standard than what it was before I was smoking. So that was the idea. So the next question is, well, how do we test this theory? Well, I haven't had these friends back in. That's what I plan on doing soon. But how can we measure this, right? Well, there are devices out there that measure air quality. And so I reached out and I was able to find this on the internet. This is a TimTop, which is a company that's based in California that specializes in air quality monitoring. And you can see it's a great device. It shows you, again, the particulates in the air and that 2.5 range, right? And then it also shows you the larger particles, which is PM10, which is right here, which are kind of the larger particles, which again, that MERV 14 was capturing all those to begin with. And then it shows temperature and humidity, and then has kind of an air quality index score. As you can see right now, I've had this air filtration running, so I'm at 2.0 PM, 2.5, 3.7, 10. I mean, basically, it's a great quality air. Now, out in the rest of the office where we just have standard kind of filtration, that hovers around 8 to 10 particles per million of the PM 2.5. So you can see with the MERV filters, we're able to clean the ambient environment of this air down to basically undetectable levels. But this is without me smoking. So the question then becomes, I light up a cigar and what happens? So this is great because I can export that data. I plan on actually keeping one of these in here, one in my humidor, maybe one in my other office. I'll put a few around the house. But this chart right here shows basically that PM 2.5, as I was smoking a cigar, and this was just kind of by myself, it would spike all the way up to 500 particles per million or whatever that measurement is of the 2.5. And it would fall back down while smoking to about 100, right? And then after smoking, it would kind of fall all the way down into that 8 to 10 range, right? Now, right here, I changed those air filters out to, basically adding that HEPA filtration. And you can see smoking my cigar, it basically maxed out under 200, but to be completely honest, the majority of the time, it was right around 100. And then whenever I would stop smoking, in a few minutes, it would fall all the way back down really to, just above, 2-3 parts per million. So this basically increased the quality of the air by almost 70%. So again, you can see very effective. So that is the current change to the air filtration system. And I'm hoping that this upgrade or this breakthrough, if you will, which is hard to believe with the amount of time and energy I've spent thinking about this, that it took me 18 to 24 months to even consider changing the air filters from that MERV 14 to the HEPA. So this is for all of you out there. But I'd say, at this point, there's really little more I can do to filter the air in this office while I'm smoking. We've got the volume of air filtration, 1,500 cubic feet a minute, turning over, filtering the entire volume of air every 2 minutes, 30 air changes per hour. We have 125 pounds of molecular filtration with that activated carbon. And then in addition to that, we've got the MERV 14 and the HEPA filtration filtering out 99.95% of all the particles that can be measured in that smallest range. So we'll see what this allows me to do. Now, the idea is that this was kind of a test run, if you will, ultimately for the filtration system I'm installing in my home. To be completely honest, I'm optimistic, but I fully expect that, my wife, of course, will still smell some of the cigar smoke. And so even though the air filter is going to be basically hospital grade and will result in cleaner air in our house, right? I mean, we'll have basically the cleanest air in Dallas. I still expect my wife, who's got an incredible sense of smell, to pick up on some of those odors, which then brings me to the last thing, which is decoys. That's right, decoys. So my current theory is that, despite, the Herculean effort to filter the air at the house, my wife is still gonna pick up on some of the residual odors. The only way I'm really going to fully get away with it is by scenting some air diffusers around the house that act as decoys to kind of draw her nose away from the scent that might be, coming out of that formal little sitting area. So I reached out to my good friend, or I was speaking with my good friend, AJ Patel, who runs No. 6 Cavendish, a beautiful cigar lounge in London. He has, honestly, one of the most impressive collections of vintage cigars, really next to the Sahakins. It's probably on par. One of the things that makes No. 6 Cavendish a little bit different is that all those cigars are really visible for people to see. They're not hidden away in some private humidor. And a lot of these really exceptional vintage cigars they have available as single sticks. So, and he's got a great smoking lounge. I had the great pleasure of getting to spend a little bit of time with AJ whenever I was in Cuba. And the last time I was in London, we went and hung out and smoked an incredible 1998 Boulevard Corona Gigante, which is my favorite cigar. And boy, was that absolutely divine. And one of the interesting things is he actually pulled out the entire collection, the entire portfolio of the Boulevard Gold medals, starting from like the original release in, I don't know, like the 1970s, all the way through the current release. So it was really kind of beautiful to see that all together. So speaking with AJ about this problem, of course, I was sharing with him, all these efforts I'm going to hopefully be able to smoke a cigar at home and get away with it. AJ recommended that I consider something that they use in their cigar lounges, which is an air diffuser from a company in France called Maison Bougère. So, of course, I went and looked into that. So we've got that. And we've got some of these beautiful little diffusers that they sell on their website. Now, he recommended a scent that is the amber, the powdered amber. He said that this is what he finds does the best job of masking the smell of cigar smoke, but I'm gonna kind of play around with these and see which one my life enjoys the most. And then you have this really interesting diffuser that's honestly different than anything else I've seen, and based on technology, I think from the early 20th century. I think this thing was invented in the late 1800s or 1900s, where basically you put this solution inside the diffuser, you light this, it burns, right? And then it gets superheated, and then you blow it out, right? It's got a little ceramic disc right here. You blow it out, and then effectively it just kind of smolders, right? And so it is diffusing that scent at a pretty high rate, and it's pretty effective. So the idea is that in the house, I don't really use it here in the office because the smoke smell doesn't bother me. But the idea is at the house, if I'm smoking in the formal living room, maybe I light one of these in the kind of family living room. Maybe I put one in our bedroom. The idea being that, despite the incredible level of air filtration, some of those odors are going to escape. There's no such thing as a foolproof system, especially in an open environment like this is at my house, which is one of its limitations. That something like this will really kind of help provide, let's say, some countermeasures against that cigar smoke. So anyway, that's the update to the smoke filtration system. Again, as I said, it's hard to believe that after the amount of just time and energy and really money, to be honest, that I have spent on this, it's taken me this long to get here, but I think I've finally gotten to where I need to be. And after all this work with CamFil, which is really the leading air filtration company in the world, I think that we're gonna work on a few exclusive air filtration products for the cigar smoking connoisseur that hopefully we'll be able to bring to this website soon. So there we go. Now, if you want to support, of course, all of these vices of mine, the best way to support the content that we film on this channel is by going to kirbyallison.com, where you'll find the largest collection of luxury garment care and luxury shoe care accessories in the world, as well as other great clothing accessories for the well-dressed, like this beautiful sovereign grade tie. pocket squares. This is a Siemens Godard pocket square, socks, braces, and really so much more. And we've added a lot of stuff recently, like these incredible SD Dupont lighters, which I'm going to take a moment to show you. So SD Dupont, of course, is really the gold standard of lighters, no pun intended. For those who really appreciate quality, craftsmanship, and tradition, there quite simply is no finer lighter out there than really SD Dupont. I mean, some of the old Dunhills and Cartiers, the vintage ones, which we have on the website as well, might rival SD Dupont, but today, SD Dupont is really the only game in town whenever it comes to kind of a jewelry level finishing of their lighters. So I wanted to pull 3 out that I've particularly enjoyed lately. These are 3 limited edition lighters that are basically made in a limited edition run. Whenever those are done, they're gone forever, like the Gold Dust lighter we just had to remove from the website because it was a limited edition run and they're all sold. And the same is true for these. Now these are all enameled, and what I like about these is they have kind of really special little motifs. So this one's a koi fish, right? This one is a personal favorite of mine. It's a Cuban motifs, right? From Cuba, from Havana. And then we have this kind of high roller or Las Vegas themed one for the gambler out there. Now, one of the benefits of Vegas is you can smoke anywhere, including and especially inside. And so if you're there in Vegas, why not have a nice lighter and one like all these Linear 2s that have the perfect cling. Now, of course, all these and so much more like this El Casco cigar cutter, ashtrays, and soon some cigar cases can be found online at kirbyallison.com. So if you're someone that enjoys a fine cigar, of course, don't overlook the accoutrement, which help really elevate that ritual to even higher levels. And I have to say, I bought one of these for my trip to Cuba that I've thoroughly enjoyed. I'm careful in traveling with it, but I have to say, now that I've got one of these beautiful SD Dupont lighters, I can't imagine really lighting my cigar with anything else. So there we go. Let me know what you think about this just crazy, totally insane obsession of mine on smoke filtration. And I hope to get these friends back in this office soon as some guinea pigs to put, really this system through probably its most important test, which is whether or not I can smoke a cigar in the company of others that don't smoke without bothering them. So we'll see. I'll report back. Otherwise, I'm Kirby Allison, and as all of you know, I love to help the well-dressed acquire and care for their wardrobes while exploring the world of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition. Thanks for watching.